I'm going to talk today a little bit about geopolitics or geographic politics. I did a video earlier concerning this, asking that all enlisted people need to be concerned and look at geopolitics. This is Master Gunnery Sergeant 𝒂𝒋𝒄𝒏, formerly Master Gunnery Sergeant Johnson when I was active duty. And I wanted to discuss today the reason why the U.S. and the Israelis are going against Iran. This is actually prophesied in the Bible. Even if you don't believe the Bible, you are living out the events of the Bible today if you're engaged or connected in any kind of way to the United States military and the people that have been deployed and that will be deployed. And what this is about, really, if you don't understand, if you listen to other people, there's retired CIA agents, there's retired military officers from different branches of the military, the Army, the Marine Corps. Some that come to mind is John Ritter, Daniel Davison, I think it's Daniel Wilkerson. I believe the other one's name is Lieutenant Colonel or Colonel Douglas McGregor. These are people who are telling you their insights because of our experience as retirees. And it is very important. It is very important for you to understand the view of the retirees, because there's some things that you cannot do and cannot say while in active duty. But this thing is really about what the Israelis want. This is the reason why they've teamed up with America. They have bought out the Congress and the Senate and other people in business, and they are all through the United States government through their political action committees and other things. Whether you believe that or not, whether they try to defend and say it's anti-Semitic, which is a trick, they always use it. That's what a previous elected official in the state of Israel said on an interview in Democracy Now! It's not anti-Semitic to tell you information. It's not anti-Semitic to tell you the truth. And anti-Semitic is just a thing that they throw out in defense of them now. The Bible does not say anything about the chosen people being defended by the Gentiles. And that's exactly what they consider the United States of America. They considered the Americans, all the Europeans that came over to America and colonized America, as Gentiles. The Bible does not have any reference to Gentiles getting together and taking the chosen people back into the land. But that is what happened with the Balfour Declaration from the British back in the early 1900s, and it was finally completed. The action of it was completed in 1948. But what you have is a battle for more land, because they're using the Bible as a pretense to gain more land. Now, you have to also understand that the state of Israel is the only European colony in the land of Arabs. You have to understand that. It is a European colony in an Arab land, and is the only one. It is the closest European colony in Arab lands. So what they want is to try to use the Bible mistakenly, unrightly dividing the word of truth, to say that they need to expand the land, not just kick out the Palestinians, which in Gaza, which they pretty much have already done. There's only really remnants of the people left after all the destruction in the land. But the Bible does say that the Israelites would be given the land from the Nile River to the Euphrates. So why is Iran in this? Well, there's a couple of theories that I have as a retired Master Gunnery Sergeant. One is, if you look at the map, you'll see that the Euphrates goes not even to the border, the eastern border of Iraq. And Iran is to the east of Iraq. By the way, Europe is part of Asia. Europe is not part of, it's not excluded from Asia. Asia includes everything in Europe all the way to China and Russia. Everything in there that is east of Africa is Asia, including Saudi Arabia. All of it is considered Asia. But through lessons in public schools, you have been tricked and deceived to think that that Europe is separate from the rest of Asia. They came up with a made-up name, the Middle East, for the same very purposes. You need to do some research. You can look it up, when that whole phraseology was created and why. But let's get back to what we're getting at. So what I believe the most extreme part of this that I believe will happen is exactly what was done to the Japanese during World War II, when America released, they released 2 atomic bombs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but they also had massive bombing campaigns all around Japan. America even bombed Tokyo, approximately 16 square miles of Tokyo. So there was more bombings than just those 2, but those 2 with the atomic bombs gave the entire world a shock that you had a European nation that had such military power of that force, of that magnitude. So what I believe is going to happen, because Iran is outside of the land that is promised in the Bible, that these people are unrightly dividing the word of truth and saying that they're the people and that this is their land. What I believe is going to happen is they're going to nuke Iran. Why is that? Because Iran, whether it be U.S. doing it or whether it be the state of the Israelis doing it, is going to get done. It might even be by both. The reason why I say that is it will put the same fear into the people of present day as it did through all the nations that was living around World War II. And that is actually a land is outside the land that they're to get, which is basically up to the border of Iraq. So you see there's a little bit of a buffer area between where the Euphrates is and the eastern border of Iraq. So if they bomb Iran and scare everybody into, hey, we have this power and you can't resist us, then they think that the nations underneath that, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan is in there, multiple nations of lands are in there to Iraq. So that they will capitulate and they will give in and say, okay, you can have it. This is the same thing that was done after the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima in Japan. The Japanese surrendered. So I believe this is exactly what they're planning on doing. And if you nuke a land, that land is going to be contaminated with nuclear waste for hundreds and or thousands of years. Now, as for the hierarchies in the military going around saying that this is Armageddon and we need to have the bloodiest battle ever so we can bring back who they say is Jesus, you do have some white nationalists who are also, understand this, white nationalists are also, some of them Christian nationalists, who are also racist and white supremacists. And now we have them running the government, and now they are trying to gain power and influence over the entire world. And in particular, they're trying to get influence over the Arabs. They want to defeat China, and yes, they want to defeat Russia. Russia, yes, is European, but there is also a potential reason why Russia is being excluded from the population of the Europeans, and they see Russia as the enemy. A lot of this is, again, this geopolitics. Russia has resources that Europe uses, gas, oil, that America has cut off through some things they did with the pipeline, and now they're getting oil from and gas resources from America, which has cost them more money than what they would have if they gotten it from Russia. But some of the Europeans are trying to break away and still do deals with Russia. Some of the Europeans are trying to even break away and break up the European Union and do deals within their particular countries. So now, this is not the worst of it as far as the greater Israel, because Netanyahu back in 2022, 2023 said this is the new Middle East. And you see all of Saudi Arabia is actually taken. All right, we're gonna take a bigger, so what it goes from greater Israel to the new Middle East. Okay, you have Sudan, you have all of Egypt, so they're going past the Nile. And they're also going past, if you look on the eastern border, they're going past the Euphrates. So they want more than that. Their intent is more than that. This is not a joke. This is exactly what the Europeans want. And I know there's a lot of Europeans in the military. I'm trying to reach the so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans that are part of the military. There are some Europeans in the military that will listen to the truth. You had the Marine who had his arm broken by another European Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, and the assistant commandant was in the room when that was done. So there's a lot going on right now. So This is the plan, is to take more and more land. Geopolitics has always been about that, about taking other people's land and resources. Then there's a lot of resources of oil in these lands. So if they get rid of Iran, which is outside of the border that they really want, that puts the fear. I'm stopping short of saying they want to put the fear of God in these people, because that's what they want to appear as. They are trying to appear as gods, so they can control everything on the earth. Now, here's a bit of Marine Corps history, and I'm going to separate this out in another video. That in 30 years, a little over 30 years of being in the Marine Corps, I never heard this story or narrative about General Smedley D. Butler, but we're going to take a look at it. All right, he wrote a book called War is a Racket. All right, this is back in the 1920s, 1930s. He didn't write the book then. These are actually a collection of speeches that were put in a book later. But we see here, we're going to take a read here. He says, I spent 33 years in active military service, and during that period, I spent most of my time as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. This was in 1935. You may not also, a little caveat is he spoke in a protest in Washington, and they were protesting. They didn't get this money, this bonus, and they were supposed to, they were protesting the government to get it. The government did not pay the bonus at the end of the war, and there were veterans that were protesting so they could get the money. They then turned the active duty over against the retirees, even killed some veterans, and also set tents and things afire, bulldozed, cleared out the tentage that was on the property around the Capitol. Now, at the time, the Capitol was, and I'll see if I can put in some pictures, the Capitol was not as developed as it is today. It was a lot of mud and things like that. But he spoke and tried to motivate these people to keep going, to try to get what they wanted. And eventually that bonus was paid sometime, I believe it was before World War II. And I'll put that in post-production too, because I have this information about Smedley D. Butler that I want to put together so that people understand, you have a major base in Japan named after him, but in 30 years, no one ever spoke of this history about him writing this book, that War is a Racket, and he was anti-war. Here's another one. A racket is best described as something that is not what it seems to the majority of the people. It is conducted for the benefit of very few. And he told you who those few were. At the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes, and that's always these bankers. And this is also a lot of your congresspersons and your senators. They are heavily invested in these defense industries. So they stand to benefit financially from what is being done. More weapons being produced, more weapons being sold, and more share values go up, they make more money. This is what you have to say. All your elected officials, in my opinion, are wicked. I don't care who they are, Republican and Democrat. Two sides, two wings of the same bird. One side Democrat, one side Republican. Here also he says, I served in all commissioned ranks from second lieutenant to major general, and during that period I spent most of my time being a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and for the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer for the capitalism. I suspected I was just a part of the racket all the time. Now I am sure of it, okay? And you have his life duration from 1881 to 1940. So we're going to read, what it says about some of the portions of the book from Wikipedia, War is a Racket. War is a Racket is a speech and a 1935 short book by Smedley D. Butler, a retired United States Marine Corps Major General and two-time Medal of Honor recipient. Based on his career military experience, Butler discusses how business interests commercially benefit from warfare. Same today. And the President, Dwight D. Eisenhower, former military as well, warned us about the industrial military complex. Now it's an uncontrollable beast. He had been appointed commanding officer of the gendarmerie during the 1915-1934 United States occupation of Haiti. After Butler retired from the United States Marine Corps in October 1931, he made a nationwide tour in the early 1930s, giving his speech, "War is a Racket." The speech was so well received that he wrote a longer version as a short book published in 1935. His work was condensed in Reader's Digest as a book supplement, which helped popularize his message. In an introduction to the Reader's Digest version, Lowell Thomas, who wrote Butler's oral autobiography, praised Butler's, quote, moral as well as physical courage, because when you go against those in authority in the military, you're going to face some retribution. He even had retribution by government officials that asked for him to be court-martialed. He was on house arrest. See, these are the facts that you do not learn when you active duty military. They don't tell you this. They don't want you to know this. But he was found not guilty. I have footage of his lawyer at the conclusion of that particular court-martial. Goes on to say for contents. In War is a Racket, Butler points to a variety of examples, mostly from World War I, where industrialists whose operations were subsidized by public funding, meaning from the government, just like Google was created by the United States government and then sold off. You also have the likes of everything that Elon Musk is doing, to the point that they owe him tens of billions of dollars because of what he was able to create based upon what he promised the government. We're able to generate substantial profits making money from mass human suffering, meaning the death of people in combat. That's what it's talking about. The work is divided into 5 chapters. War is a Racket. Who makes the profits? Who pays the bills? How to smash this racket? To hell with war. It contains this summary. War is a racket. It always has been. It is possible the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Only a small, quote, inside group knows what it is about. Just like I tried to explain to you my insight, my perception of what I think is going to actually happen. It may not happen, but it might happen. Going on. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. And the same thing, just so you know, during the Gulf War, you had Rumsfeld, who was over Halliburton, and supposedly when they elect office, they have to give up they do that stuff on paper. They come back and they get the profits. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. All the laundry, all of the cooking facilities, the DFACs and things that are in these deployed areas, these are these small numbers of people making money when we go to war. It's the facts. Facts are facts. Butler confesses that during his decades of service in the United States Marine Corps, I helped make Mexico, especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefits of Wall Street. The record of racketeering is long. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1909 to 1912. Where have I heard that name before? I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interests in 1916. In China, I helped to see to it that Standard Oil went its way unmolested. Looking back on it, I might have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. Recommendations. In the booklet's penultimate chapter, Butler recommends 3 steps to disrupt the war racket. 1, making war unprofitable. Butler suggests that the means for war should be, quote, conscripted before those who would fight for the war. Now, you got who does he say? Let's read. It can be smashed effectively only by taking the profit out of war. The only way to smash this racket is to conscript capital and industry and labor before the nation's manhood can be conscripted, meaning all these big banks and business people send your people to war. Like I say, about the likes of Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio and 𝒊𝒔𝒂𝒏, you put on the suit. Put on the suit and you go. And you'll see how it turns out. Let the officers and the directors and the high-powered executives of our armament factories and our steel companies and our munition makers and our shipbuilders and our airplane builders and the manufacturers of all other things that provide profit in wartime, as well as the bankers and the speculators, be conscripted to get $30 a month, the same wages as the lads in the trenches get. Now, this was back then, okay, World War I. When I joined the Marine Corps in 1982, I made $250 every payday. In 1982, $500 a month. That's what I took home. $500 a month. The acts of war to be decided by those who fight it. He also suggests a limited referendum to determine if the war is to be fought. They're not doing that today. Today you have one man who's a business person, a real estate agent, getting with other people, business people who are part of his cabinet. They're all wealthy, millionaires and or billionaires, and they're deciding what they're going to do in order to make more money in this war, including Kushner, his son-in-law, and what's that other man's name? 𝒊𝒔𝒂𝒏. I'm not sure what he does, but those two together were trying to make the peace treaty with Iran. And there's big news about that, but they don't want you to know the truth about that. Eligible to vote would be those who would risk death on the front lines. Absolutely, put their lives at risk. 3, limitation of militaries to self-defense. This is a very good one. For the United States, Butler recommends that the Navy be limited by law to operating within 200 miles of the coastline and the Army restricted to the territorial limits of the country, ensuring that war, if fought, can never be one of aggression. And that's what this is. It's all war of aggression. What country has the ability to create more violence than the other country and take it over? That's pretty much how this has been. According to history and observation history, this country, America, out of 250 years, this year, they've only had 17 years where there was no war. 17 years, because it's about money. Okay, and that completes this about Smedley D. Butler. Smedley D. Butler had learned at the end of after he retired, getting up in age, that he lived a lie. He was doing things not based upon what he thought they were being done for, but it was done for big business and industry, for international bankers and the wealthy of the country. And now we even have more wealthy people in this country doing the same. So the title of this video I'm not yet determined, but you need to understand geographical politics. All enlisted, you need to understand your lives, what you're risking your lives for. Now, you're under contract, and if you even get out after 3, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, when you have to understand, when you enlisted for 8 years. So whatever you don't do active duty, you have to do in the reserve component, whether active reserve or inactive reserve. That is how it works. That's the reason why you can be recalled. Those people who are over 20 years, you're not free of the military either. They can call you up to the end of 30 years. You're not fully retired till your 30-year mark, not having been on active duty. So if you're retired 20 years, 21 years, 22, they can recall you up to the 30th year. That's how it works. Now, they talk about doing this draft. Matter of fact, they got it so they have such a well-oiled machine that you don't even have to register for the draft. They're going to use AI, artificial intelligence, to automatically register you. That is what they're doing. So fitting that there's a siren. A siren needs to go off about what they're doing. A siren needs to go off about what they're doing, because many lives are going to be lost because of financial interests and one nation going against another nation for their resources. That is what this thing is really about. That is what is called geopolitics. This is also called national security. We're securing what we want in other people's lands for our nation. That's how you have to interpret national security. That's the facts. You can say somebody's not gung-ho or whatever the case may be. Now, I often wondered during the Gulf War, after the Gulf War, we were told that the Saudi government wanted to offer us $10,000 per service member. And the president said that we were not mercenaries. We are mercenaries. Just like one man pointed out in Britain that You got to understand the militaries are meant for only one thing, and that is to kill. That's all the military is for. That's just the facts. And so you have to understand the business you're in. You know, you're in the profession in arms. All the branches of the military, no matter what your occupational specialty is, MOS, OCField, whatever, rating, whatever it is they call it in the different branches, your job is to support killing, to kill and or to support killing. That's just what it is. Every Marine is a rifleman. You know, we know the deal. Every Marine is a rifleman.
Yesterday, there was a report in the Journal that Mark Thiessen and Jack Keane, General Jack Keane, two friends of mine at Fox News. I mean, I think Mark Thiessen would tell you the reason he's a Fox News contributor and you know his name is because of yours truly. I, too, used to be very neocon-y while on Fox. It's one of the reasons I'm so anti-war right now. I participated in this. I helped cheerlead it. I blindly supported the administration and its lies about the war when George W. Bush was president. And I didn't know they were lies at the time. I just unquestioningly followed them, swallowed them, and then delivered them to an audience which kept approval numbers at a decent rate, at least within the Republican Party. So I know how the game works. And the game is dishonest. And I refuse to be a part of that again. No.
Turning now to the person who should be having the most fun in this war, Lindsey Graham. He's at the height of his powers here in Washington. How did he get there? It turns out by colluding directly with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel and their own intelligence agencies, using their tactics to lobby Donald Trump behind the scenes, and now openly bragging about war and death and all the money we're going to make from this war, how we're even going to free Cuba on Fox News airwaves. It's beyond 2003 madness. Let's take a listen.
This regime goes down, we're going to have a new Mideast. We're going to make a ton of money. Nobody will threaten the Straits of Hormuz, and we're going to win. Israel and the United States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people. This regime is in a death row now. It is going to be on its knees. I mean, I'm not looking for a fair fight. If we get in a fight, I want to win it. I want to win it quick. I'm in Miami. You see this hat? Free Cuba. Stay tuned.
Yep.
The liberation of Cuba is upon us. It's just a matter of time now. You see this hat? Make Iran great. President Trump said the only way to make Iran great is for the people to take over. We're marching through the world. We're cleaning out the bad guys. We're going to have relationships with new people that will make us prosperous and safe. I've never seen anybody like it. This is Ronald Reagan plus. Donald Trump is resetting the world in a way nobody could have dreamed of a year ago. He is the greatest commander-in-chief of all time. Our military is the best of all time. Iran is going down, and Cuba is next.
Does he even have a hat that says America on it? You know, I mean, how many hats does this guy have of foreign countries? It's crazy.
I mean, do they hear him? We're marching through the world. I mean, we're cleaning out all the bad guys.
This is 2005
Ronald Reagan
rhetoric.
Plus.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's worse than 2005 rhetoric, genuinely. We're marching through the world. Insanity.
Don't underestimate the power of the U.S. military, but the bloodlust by the administration spokespeople, and this guy chief among them, is very disconcerting. It's very off-putting. He then, went on to issue a warning to Spain. Okay, what are we now doing to Spain? Not to mention the entire Arab world.
To our friends in Spain, man, you have lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end.
You should get life insurance because every day and he had a stroke.
No one elected you as our commander-in-chief. Shut the fuck up. Get off the national scene. You've disgraced yourself and endangered our troops long enough.
Miriam gave my campaign, indirectly and directly, $250 million. She was number one. When somebody can give you $250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick, because $250 million is not what it used to be. Okay?
I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years. And I say, Alan, I agree with you. So we can do it. Tell me a second. Yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another $250 million.
I will give.
But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy. And he'd come up to the office. And there was nobody more aggressive than Sheldon. I think I spent more time with him and you, because you usually came up together. But he'd call and say, can I come over, please? I say, Sheldon, I'm president of the United States. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's like maybe tomorrow. How about tomorrow? No, please, just for a little while. And he'd always say 10 minutes. It turned out to be about an hour and a half, right? And what he did is he fought for Israel. That's all he really fought for. He just wanted to take care of Israel.